Assalamu alaikum. Our lesson today is about creating a data table. So, at the end of this video, you should be able to create a data table. I want you to prepare a notebook and a pencil, your physics booklet, and a ruler. Before you start, please read and follow these instructions. Sit in a quiet place, prepare your stuff, follow my instructions, repeat the video more than once, and ask me if you have any question. Example: Karim tries to study how pressure varies when altitude changes. That's why he measured the pressure at different altitudes. The results obtained are the following. Altitude 0 km, 5 km, 10 km, 15 km, and 20 km. Pressure 10 kilopascal, 15 kilopascal, 30 kilopascal, 60 kilopascal, and 100 kilopascal. Can you now analyze this experiment? Surely no. Why? Since the results are not organized. So, the results should be organized into a data table. What is a data table? A data table is an organized arrangement of information in labeled rows and columns. These are the columns vertical line and these are the rows horizontal line. Making data tables may also help you interpret information that someone else has collected. To create a data table, you should follow the following steps. Step 1. Indicate the responding dependent and the manipulated independent variable. First, let us review the difference between the two variables. The manipulated variable, independent variable, is the variable which is found only in one of the two setups of the experiment, and I want to study its effect. Why? The responding variable, dependent variable, is the affected variable. In our example, we said, Karim measures the pressure at different altitudes. Now, in this example, we want to determine the manipulated and the responding variable, or the dependent and the independent variable. How? Let us observe the figure. Indicate the location of Karim at the beginning of the experiment. Yes, at sea level. Does this location change during the experiment? Yes. So, he climbed the mountain. What is the independent variable now, or the variable that changes during the experiment? The location of Karim. But since he climbed the mountain, it's better to say altitude. What is the responding variable or the variable that is affected when the altitude changes? Yes, the pressure. Step 2. Show all the columns and rows necessary to the experiments by indicating the variable that we should follow. In our experiment, there are two variables: altitude, the independent variable, and pressure, the dependent variable. And there are 5 values of each: 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. For pressure, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. How can I now determine the number of rows and columns needed? The number of variables, which are 2, altitude and pressure, help us to indicate the number of rows. So, since there are 2 variables, we need to draw 2 rows. Row 1 for variable 1, row 2 for variable 2. So, row 1 for variable 1, row 2 for variable 2. The results or the values of the two variables, the dependent and the independent variable, direct us to the number of columns needed. So, since there are 5 values of each variable, we need to draw 5 columns. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. The table is ready now. It includes 2 rows, row 1 for variable 1, row 2 for variable 2, and it includes 5 columns, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Notice that you should close all the sides of the table, like this. All the sides are closed. This is the general form of a table, but in each experiment you should replace variable 1 by the independent variable of this experiment and variable 2 by the dependent variable of this experiment. So, variable 1, the independent variable, variable 2, the dependent variable. Now, in our experiment, what is the independent variable? What is the dependent variable? Did you know? The independent variable is, the dependent variable is, yes, altitude and pressure. Step 3. After indicating the variables in the rows, so altitude in row 1, pressure in row 2, we should write the unit for each variable. So, write the units used in columns and rows if necessary and fill the table by values. What is the unit of altitude? The unit of altitude is kilometer. What is the unit of pressure? The unit of pressure is kilopascal. Fill the table by the values of each variable. For altitude, there are 5 values: 0, 5, 10, 15, and 20. But for each of these values, there is a corresponding value of pressure. So, we should write below each value of altitude its corresponding value of pressure. How? Ask yourself, what is the pressure at altitude 0 km or at the sea level? The pressure is 100 kilopascal. What is the pressure at altitude 5 km? 60 kilopascal. What is the pressure at altitude 10 km? 30 kilopascal. What is the pressure at altitude 15 km? 15 kilopascal. And finally, what is the pressure at altitude 20 km? 10 kilopascal. Step 4. Write a title for the table as follows: the variation of the dependent variable with respect to the independent variable. This is the general form of a title, but in each experiment we should replace the dependent variable and the independent variable referring to the experiment. So, in our experiment, what is the independent variable and what is the dependent variable? The dependent variable is pressure, so replace the dependent variable by pressure, surely with its unit, kilopascal. What is the independent variable? Altitude. Replace the independent variable by altitude, surely with its unit, kilometer. Read the title with me now. The variation of pressure, kilopascal, with respect to altitude, kilometer. Now, I want you please to stop the video and try to solve this application alone. Take your time and apply the explained steps. Have you finished? Let us correct. Are your answers correct? Great. This is your agenda. Thank you for your attention.